Thank you very much. Sorry for interruption. I think we have to design our institutions a little differently. And that is, so the short thing is like we give an introduction to a person. Once I was giving a lecture at Cambridge University to the art historians there. And I said, and they would have thrown stones at me because I said, the art historians of the West destroyed the pleasure of looking at a painting by giving too many details right at the beginning. This is the size of the painting, this is by Picasso, this is worth £5 million, or whatever. By then you are not looking at the painting, you are being carried away. So if you say, I'm a Padma Bhushan, I'm 70 years old, and tomorrow is my birthday, you'll get me flowers and all that, if you tell me, what I would like to request, which I requested in innumerable organizations, that please distribute a resume of people, those who are coming, so that we don't waste and eat into the time of a presentation, if I may request that. And believe me, it would help a lot. It's better to meet a person without knowing who he or she is. If I looked at Iliana dancing without knowing she's from Italy and she's learned under Kelu Babu, etc., then I would enjoy the dance. But this young lady danced beautifully. What is very gratifying being here, that it's an academic institution, this is in Orissa, and two of the presentations which are made are extraordinary, and getting to know them. Iliana is an old friend of mine, I didn't know so many details, although I've been to Bergamo, where she comes from, and the great automobile designer. Although I walk a different path, but what is very exciting, that when you meet a creative person, whether that is folk, tribal, classical or contemporary, Indian or foreign, the undercurrent of that creative person you meet somewhere. So many of the things Mr. Chavere was saying was wonderful, but some of the things that he touched, which are very important, we all follow and sniff like a dog about these elements. That one is not at all confident, and arrogance, if it is not coupled with humility, that arrogance is very vulgar. No, can we have the lights? What's happening is I'm looking at the dark, and can we have all the lights? And when I make the slide presentation, I'll go down and we'll have the lights on the stage. Because if we are talking to you and I'm not beating your eye, it's not meaningful. These dancers do a great job when they have all the lights on them, they can't see anybody. I remember Kumar Gandhar, the great musician, he would say, Jatin bhai, aage aao, come and sit up front so I know that whom am I singing to. So my request is, next time when there are no visuals, let's have the lights on, then lead the eye. The other thing is, our schools, colleges, universities, auditoriums, it's very nice, it's a little curvilinear. But as you know, all our classrooms, the chair, the table, and the benches are all parallel to each other. There's something called a sight line. For me to talk to you and see everybody, I should be somewhere there. And this is how Bade Ghulam Ali Khan and others sang without microphone at a Kawasji Jahangir Hall. It was full with audience without microphone, they sang, and it reached everybody. So the auditorium has to be curvilinear. That's why they have a orchestra pit. So that creates a distance. So you did a sideline. A lot of theatres, they bring the chairs right up to there to earn more money. But it should have at least 15 feet away from the stage, talking of sidelines of the stadium. And when we're talking of this management of space and form, your institute of management, it should be friendly to your design. Everything in life is a design of form and space. Whether it's designing a car or dance or building or a city or a country or whatever, to all doing a little miniature and a little piece of paper. I'm from Orissa, and I've been away for 54 years. I'm from a remote, instead of giving a resume or all this. I come from a middle class, traditional Hindu Indian family in Moyurganj, in America. But I had a fantastic good fortune that I had a great guru. The guru was a sannyasi, he was a headmaster of the school, but he sang, he played Modernization, he did clay modeling, he painted, he wrote poetry, and he knew Upanishad and, the Vedas. And he was a headmaster and taught yoga. So when I was 8 or 9, I had close proximity to him. So that was the beginning. And being from a princely state, we had explored the showdowns, the river, the water body, the lake, the zoo, the museum, the library. So what are the little components we need of a proper model township? And I think Mariputa was really a design town. I don't know whether you all know. I went to a school which is 125 years old. And we have a women's group which is 130 years old. And a municipality which is 140 years old. And things like that. The first street lighting was done in Mariputa. The first telephone and the railway, Vienna, etc., etc. So I'm flying the flag of Moyurganj. Now, why I'm saying it, I wanted to study art. I spent all my time in a garden that we had in the house, and it had hundreds of varieties of plants. And there was a Rani Bagh. There was a Rani Bagh at the Queen's Garden, which was about 100 acres of land by the riverside. And believe me, without bragging, it had every possible trees and plants and flowers and fruit that you can think of in the country. Venetian ceramic stools, and a little train for children to ride, a copper locomotive within the Rani Bagh. Now it's raised to the ground, and my children say, they're showing off that the ground doesn't exist. So the decadence and the disappearance of history of our country. And we are all talking about GDP, as if it was there, GDP and all that. And everybody has a BlackBerry, that's glossy buildings, and ugly airports which are glossy, synthetic. But every town, every city, every village is destroyed. And believe it is a very, very serious matter. We have a Jubilee library there, which has rare signed books from the royal family that donated by extraordinary authors from all over the world. They were all stolen. And, and so on. Now, having said about my little town, but we had an exposure. If there was a Lakshmi Puja, the little figurines of bronze came out and they were cleaned with tamarind and haldi, and they were shining like gold, and the puja was there. All the chanting. And you did not intentionally do anything, but they were cleansing your ears if they were chanting. And you looked at these figurines, and you played and walked in the garden. But all this went into your system, which you realized much later. Then my parents and my elder brothers didn't allow me to study art, and I went to do biology for medicine. On the second year, I came to Cuttack to the Inter-College Festival, where I stood first in painting, then to Delhi for the Inter-University Festival. And having got some honor in that, I came back again, pursued and requested my family to send me to study art. And a friend of mine suddenly showed me that there is something called JJ School of Art in Bombay. And so I told my father I want to go and study. And I came to Bhubaneswar. This was, I went in '56 to Delhi, where we met Jawaharlal Nehru and Priyambada Mohanty, who was a great dancer, also came with us, and there was a group of us women. And you see, by chance and by coincidence, you met and rubbed shoulders with people and learned people, talented people, and you imbibed unknowingly. Then I came to Bhubaneswar, in those days, Julius Haas, the chief architect of Bhubaneswar city, and I was a fantastic architect. and it was German town planner who designed this. It was extraordinary town planner, and I saw it, which they were. As you know, that Corbusier designed Chandigarh and Nehru wanted two new cities. The combination was built at the same time, but Corbusier was very disciplined. And here they did acquire the land, and the German planner, that's why you have such broad roads. His planning was very good. But he did only 1 or 2 units and left. So anyway, I met Julia's house, and we gave an introduction to the dean of the faculty of digital art. He was a friend of his. So I went, and there was no admission. It was late, and I got admission in architecture, young architecture, and painting. And the dean was painting, it was very kind. This Jesus Lord is one of the most beautifully designed piece of architecture or art school in the world. It has 40 feet skylight, so you don't need artificial light to paint and draw. You have perfect flooring. You have Michelangelo replica 3 times larger for study, etc. etc. And at the age of 17, when you go to Bombay from a small town, from fish and rice to beefsteak and fish and chips, and high style of Bombay, Bombay was the throbbing cultural capital of India in those days. The great writers, poet, painter, architect, filmmakers, scientists. When I was 22, I met Dr. Bhava, the scientist. I met J.R.D., I met Hoff Larsen of the Larsen and Toubro. And if I give you names, they will be really like name dropping, because I had a studio of 10 feet by 10 feet in Gulaba Institute in Warden Road, and today it doesn't exist, like everywhere else, everything is gone. But there was Hussain, there was Gayatri, there was Al-Qazi, if you know any of these people who they are. Iyengar, the great yoga teacher who is in Pune, started there. Ravi Shankar, before going to America, the Kinnara school started there. So in the evening we'll tell Rabudha that please sing something on the lawn. And he will inside, he will play and sing. He will sing and play and stuff, and so on. So, and I had this studio, Holt Larsen of the Larsen and Toubro will come, and there was no fan. Next day, the institute, this is not an institute of learning, there were only rooms for artists, creative people to work, that's all. And the rent was 1 rupee. The days you didn't come, you didn't pay the rent. And Holt Larsen would sit there for 2.5 hours, sweating and looking at work. No, show me that one, which is showing red and blue, you know. And then carry the painting, and the driver will come running to take the painting. So no, I carry the painting myself. Do you know that J.R.D. Tata never let anybody carry his bag? You know? And so these are people who are very humble, very simple. After a chairman's meeting, they will come and see our exhibition and avoid and forego lunch, you know. And so this was a time in Bombay where people are working in advertising agency, but they were doing for retailership, but in the evening they were writing, acting in plays, writing poetry. And if you had a play, everybody went, architects, painters, dancers, everybody. If I had an exhibition, everybody came. So this is the kind of camaraderie and affection. And I've never been to a play of a friend without paying for it, although we were invited. The whole idea to promote theatre and to support this kind of thing. And Yamini Krishnamurthy Sonal's first performance in Bombay was for the Gulaba Institute. Marshall, the great pantomime artist, for us, you know. And it's a little, this is Gulaba Desai was a great ambassador, the first Indian ambassador to Switzerland. It is his house when Frank Lloyd Wright student, Mr. Bajpai, one of the top architects of modern India, who designed Jahangir Art Gallery and their house. So, now I remember when the Kemp's Corner was built, there was a 800-year-old tree, and the bridge. And Dr. Bhava got all the scientists, transplanted the tree to the, and today millions of trees have been chopped off and the wood has been taken away by the roadside by building highways. It's a cruel country. You know, we have no respect for art of nature or man-made art. You know, my sculpture, which I did 16 years ago in Bhiलाई Steel City, one of the largest sculptural installations, was broken down because they were having a bridge. And there are millions of places in the world, as you know, in Scandinavia, you cannot cut the land and build your house. As per the topography you build. Huh? And in our country, people go to forest area and mountains, they first clean up all the trees, then they build. So, the kind of life, the kind of grooming, the kind of upbringing, the kind of ethics, value and dignity it was inculcated in us, there's nothing left. I'm sorry. It's very bleak. I mean, people go to a music concert for half an hour, they're looking at each other, chatting, whether to go to 5 other parties. And we sat through in Rang Bhavan, when Vincent Joshi, somebody of particularly for singing, spent 8 hours listening to. And you quickly went and got some samosa or tea, and then sat down to listen in the freezing cold, you know. So it's been a lone journey. Lone journey in the sense I'm doing an art center here. That's a collective effort. And there's a contradiction. There's a dichotomy. Why am I doing an art center? I'm a loner. What I do, I don't discuss about my work with anybody. You know? And the fact I have accepted and I've come here because I'm concerned about young people. I'm concerned about academic institutions because I was telling somebody yesterday the only hope for 2 institutions, that's an institution of home and schools. And to the extent I would say primary schools. University and at your level you're already framed and structured. They're the only 2 places left. Otherwise the country on a very, very dangerous path of this overconfidence and all winning and all money driven, all self-centered. Have you ever heard the young people of well-to-do family in Bombay waiting for their parents to die so they can have the property? Did you know that? It's very, very serious. So, and all the young artists today all over the country, they are all doing everything on the computer. And photo transfer onto the canvas. They're not actually painting or drawing. And some of them will be surprised, earn 100 times more than I earn from my painting. 100 times. Okay? And those who are begging me, can I teach them drawing? So, by manipulation, by mechanical device, by hook or crook, and everybody on the website and the internet, and one day some gallery rang me up from New York and said about some artist, there's such a big website, who is this? I said, I've not even heard of him, you know? So, having said about the condition of so-called modernization, instead of we being progressive, we are blindly aping and imbibing the leftovers of the West. That is one. I was at Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore. I was mentioning to some students here yesterday. And they had invited me for a lecture on art in public space. Art and aesthetics in public space. When they invited me and I said, this building is very beautiful. To myself, I said, it sounds like Doshi's building, B.V. Doshi. So the director came to fetch me at the portico. So I said, who is the architect? He didn't know. So I telephoned Doshi from that point. I said, Doshi looks like yours. And he laughed and he says, of course, I did it in 80s. You know? And they took me into a room which had beautiful large windows, but all the curtains were drawn and they had artificial light and air conditioning. Why? The temperature was fantastic. You know, so I said, Usko kholo, you know, let's have the ventilation. So my request is, let's open up all the windows and doors. As Tagore said, let's not be flown away from under our feet. But India is a unique country in the world, which is multifarous, multi-religious, multicultural, and so many different climatic, craft, art, dance, music, everything that you have, all paradigms. Did you know in 17th century, there was a scientist, astronomer, with 2 pieces of bamboo he measured planets in Orissa, and so on. The inseparable relationship between arts and science. There cannot be any art without science and vice versa. Have you heard of C.V. Raman, I'm sure? C.V. Raman's son, called Radhakrishnan, was a dear friend of mine who died a year and a half ago, and who was a great scientist. He was also the director of the Bangalore Institute. He came here to make a presentation at my art center, the 100th Meet the Artist program, inseparable relationship between art and science. And that man, he said he worked for 1 month for this presentation. You know, and who, exactly like Dr. Bhava and Jayati and Hoklasan, loved cooking, loved music and painting and gardening and all that. And you know, Radhakrishnan's house has at least 200 paintings and about 5,000 craft objects, and spent all the time in cooking. Now when you say, quite often people say, this is my main, this is my hobby, which is a very stupid idea. When you are cooking, painting is not important at all, and so on. Do you know the best of Indian classical musicians, when they're doing riyaz in the morning, they say, "Hey, badhiya khushbu aa raha hai." Yeah, what is cooking? The lovely fragrance, lovely aroma. So I'll do another riyaz because, you know, this is cooking for another 1 hour. So they spend their time in food. In other words, what I'm trying to say, amongst all the art forms, cooking is the best. So we should really have a discourse only about food and nothing else. So, you know, seriously. No, so there is this stupid idea of a hobby, this human being has everything of the universe. And we have to be a holistic person. Like I was jokingly asking somebody this evening, I said, do you know Amitabh Bachchan? He said, yes. I said, do you know B.V. Doshi? He said, no. And B.V. Doshi, would you believe some IS officers, when he came to see my land he's designing here, nobody knew B.V. Doshi in Orissa. B.V. Doshi is 85, dearest friend of mine. He's like a 20-year-old boy. He doesn't sit at the computer. He's got 50 architects working there, who worked with Corbusier, and he got at least 200 awards. And was the greatest living architect in the world. And nobody in Orissa knew about him. Shall I tell you that, do you know, every time I come to Orissa, they introduce me, Khabar Paranti Jatin Das. And very proudly. You know what it means? Those who do not understand Oriya, that he is the newsreader of Jatin Das. Yeah. There was a newsreader by my name who died 11, 12 years ago, read news in Oriya from Delhi. And so wonderful. Would you believe some IS officers also have introduced me as that news? Do you know who he is? Very proudly. He's a newsreader, Jatin Das. Exactly like B.V. Doshi. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's not necessary to know. When I went to IIT once for their national event in Kharagpur, so I said, name me 5 musicians. And we said, Lata Mangeshkar. So I said, name me a few architects, dancer, musician. And these are cream of the society, go to IIM with boulder on their shoulder. Everybody's very, very all-knowing, and, IIT, IIM, Just in families, don't we say, "Ye painting, kar raha hai, dance, he's a mathematics karo, you should study properly, science, So we have this mindset. Do you know all the universities, humanities department have been abolished? Do you know nobody's doing sociology, anthropology, philosophy, literature, etc.? They're only doing management and IT. Earlier they did. Did you know, I go and also lecture at the Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy of Administration, jo IS officer ka hai. Do you know 75% from medicine who got gold medalists, they go and join IAS and engineers and doctors? So everything is money driven and dowry. Otherwise you get a motorcycle and there you will get a BMW maybe, So while we are having fun and joke about the situation, I think it's very alarming, and it's my request is we have to be holistic, to draw not to become an artist, But you as a management person, as a police officer, as an architect, as an IS officer, a doctor, whoever, you need to draw. And drawing also gathers a person. Drawing also a therapy. If you have a child who is very restless, give some paper and pen and colors, and you will see after 10 minutes the child will be quiet. It gathers himself. So all these people that I'm mentioning, they were holistic like that. Richard Bartholomew was a critic of Times of India in Delhi. He got 30 rupees a review for Times, but a great critic. But not a word would be changed. Once one word was changed and he resigned. Just one word. But he painted and drawn and used to laugh. So he used to show us. He said, don't worry, I'm not encroaching into you, but I just want him to know how the watercolor oil behaves. Suddenly I realized it's not so easy as I think. Now, you'll be surprised, in dance and music they can't. In medicine they can't. But in painting today, everybody, as you walk, there are 500 artists, painters are born every day. You know how? Just canvas, color, somebody. One day, a lady comes, a fashionable, beautiful, well-dressed, reformed lady, comes with a young man with a wrapper, ribbon box. He's studying in second year. This lady has brought him to gift his painting to me, that he's holding an exhibition. So everybody also is in a hurry to do something quickly to get a name and fame and money. How come it is not possible for a surgeon? How come it is not possible for a dancer or a musician? Even though make very shortcuts. Even dancers also, the moment she teaches, somebody says, the parent says that aaround get you know. So, in a hurry, frankly, to be a creative person, to be an artist, needs 2, 3, 5 lives. One life is frankly not enough. And if you can consume 5 lives in one, maybe 0.01% of your dreams and your ideas can be actualized. You see, a sportsman goes to Olympic, then you get an award, and that's the end of the thing. You are a politician, you become a prime minister, end of it. But a creative journey, when I say creative, I don't mean just a painter or a scientist. Creative journey is a never-ending journey. Uska koi ant nahi hai. And as you work more and more, you suddenly realize, my God, nothing has been done. A lot of kids are going to study abroad. Once, there was a great cartoonist called O.V. Vijayan. So raise your hand, how many people know O.V. Vijayan? Dekha na ek hi aadmi. O.V. Vijayan, one of the greatest cartoonists of our country, and Abu Abraham, etc. O.V. Vijayan was a dear friend of mine, he was a leftist, and he had one son. You know, I'm clearly speaking so that I don't go beyond your time. All this pressure, and never adhered to any pressure in my life. But, yeah. So, Ramu said, Jatin, can you please do something? This boy is wanting to go and study design in America. So Ramu comes and said, Jatin, uncle, please give me a thing that you are my referee and you know that I'm going to study. So I said, do one thing. Your mother is Jamali and your father is Malayali. Go and travel these 2 states, then you go. He didn't, he went there. So the director phoned me from their design institute. He said, whatever you said, I'm sending him to India for 1 year. Do you know something? 99% of our people who have gone abroad, they have not even had 0.0001% of exposure of our country. But those who lived in a village on the riverside or seaside had a different, that is a very good thing. I would even be a communist, like a Chinese or whatever, and say, unless you have traveled, Mahabalipuram, if you have not seen the Kerala murals, if you have not seen Ajanta, Ellora, Konark, Khajuraho, etc., dance and music, how can you leave the country? There was a great ambassador called Khalili. Khalili was our ambassador in Rome many years ago, and a great learned man. 3 beautiful girls from Bangalore, they only went to boutique and discourse and perfume and hamburger. They came and stayed, so I was staying with Khalili. So Khalili said, Jatin, ek baat hai. I will give you the best of wine every evening, but you're going to talk to these girls. So say, Uncle Jatin, there is no art in India, they're only craft. Look at Sixtine Chapel. So our mindset has been made like this for 400 years by the colonial British. I hope you know, it was written down out of the 4 points, that we'll make them only class, don't educate them, it's a great culture. We must create in them a sense of, that everything of your tradition is rubbish. Why don't you think all the educated people, especially Orissa, Bengal, Assam, Bihar, the maximum tablet takers, all the medicine they take, So it has been created into ingrained into mind that we are inferior, everything of the tradition. I have a large collection of pankha. I'll round up. I'm doing an art center here. I don't know why, but I'm from Orissa, that's why. And I'm going to have an art center with Doshi's designing. Government has given the land. And I have sent my 45-year-old art collection of arts and antiquity, not painting, bronzes and wares and ritual objects from Egypt, Africa, China, Japan, Korea, India, sabka yahan bhej diya hai. Then I, again another stupid indulgence, I started collecting pankha, Vishari, Vishanakara, pankha, Binchana. And 27 years ago, and today one of the largest private collections. Why was I talking about Vishari? This is the reason. One young lady came to interview me in Delhi and said, I want to do your pankha collection. Then he said, why are you collecting these old broken fans? I said, no interview. The highly educated people of Delhi, those who are not SMSNA, highly, they said, Jatin, your collection is Chinese and Japanese fan. I said, yes, that is only 1% of the collection. And India has the largest varieties of fans. When I had 2 lakhs of rupees, I had bought a pankha for 1,80,000 with ivory handle, silver and gold thread, and a pankha like this from a royal family. Okay? Nahi, talika nahi. But hello, good morning. My friends, artist friends have 7 houses. One in Santinipito, Calcutta, Bangalore, Delhi. I have no house of my own. And I bought this. And all of them are sneering at me. You are stupid. You don't got a house and you're wasting your time. Who will look after? Who will do the museum? And so on. Some is real. So this journey has been alone. This journey is a personal journey with dichotomy and indulgence. You see, you call me, or anybody calls me to Orissa, I blindly say yes. And to millions of other important things outside, I don't know, thinking that I must come. But you know what's happening? When I used to come less or less visible, I used to have more respect. Now people take me too lightly. Thank you.